Hi friends, Mindy here. Today I am going to be covering this pocket journaling Bible using this kit from Bythewell4god. I believe there are still some of these in the shop. I will put my affiliate link down below. They do have this colorway, which is using the Tim Holtz fabric, as well as some other color options if you would be interested in checking those out. So those are always in the shop. You can look for those. I'm just kind of sharing here some of the different fabrics. You kind of have two different options for covers, and then they add in all of those extra scraps that you can create closures with, or you can just, if you wanted to piece them together and kind of quilt your own cover, that would be really cool too. And then you also get these sheets of mini stickers. There's 4 sheets, so you get 2 each of 2 designs. And then you get 36 journaling cards here, and these are perfectly sized to fit inside this little journaling Bible. And the corners around it and everything just really easy to use. And so I fiddled around with this for a while. It was hard to decide which fabric I wanted to use. In the end, I went with this one that kind of looks like the collage strips, just because I felt if I did all of the pinks, it was just too much pink for me, and I needed something else to break that up. So I do love these fabrics though, and so I went around and around kind of how I wanted to do this, and ended up just with this one here. So I pulled out my trusty little clips. If you've ever seen me cover one of these Bibles, you know I love these little clips. They work for everything. I get asked a question about them all the time. I got them in the automotive section of my grocery store. I know that Dollar Tree sells something similar, but these are just really nice and strong, so I really love these. But I'm also using a Cocoina glue stick. This is a glue that is particularly good for this process because it's a paste and it's not like a Fabri-Tac or something like that that has the potential to kind of seep through your fabric. I will say, if you do have Fabri-Tac or even like Aleene's tacky glue or something like that you're choosing to use, just make sure you have a nice even thin coat, like spread it out with your fingers or a palette or something. That will help kind of mitigate the risk of it kind of leaking through the fabric. So but Cocoina glue stick is great for this, and so that's what I am going to be using today. I have had great success with this particular glue stick. It holds really well. And so I'm just applying this to the back. You can see I kind of started out dry fitting it to get my fabric in place exactly where I wanted it. And then I'm starting on the back cover, and I am just covering the back cover with that glue, and then I'm holding it in place with a couple of clips, and then I'm going to kind of work in sections. I will warn you, Cocoina is a pretty sticky glue, so you may want to have a baby wipe handy just to kind of clean your fingers if you get it on there. But I do like to work in sections. Excuse me. It does dry fairly quickly, but you also have some working time. So plenty of time to kind of get your fabric in the way that you want it. If you needed to lift it up, you can do that as well. So again, then I'm just doing this to the same piece to the front cover. I'm going to come around with some clips and kind of hold that in place. And then I'm just going to smooth everything down, make sure everything is nice and smooth. And then I'm going to pull off those clips, and then I'm kind of pressing the Bible open. And now I'm going to do a little bit of surgery on this fabric. Excuse me. So I'm cutting out some of the extra fabric here in the corners, and not coming up too close to the actual Bible itself. I want to leave a little space there. And then at the beginning and the ending of the text blocks, I'm cutting out these very tiny little triangles. This is just going to help the fabric so that when we fold it in, it doesn't bunch up at the text block, the actual pages of the Bible. So I'm going to do that both top and bottom. And that's just going to help wrap this, or help make the wrap of this easier. So I'm going to get rid of those little scraps, and now we can start doing the wrapping. So I always start with the long side when I do this. I'm just adding a little glue there, and then I'm going to kind of roll that fabric over, get it into place, and I will add a couple of little clips here in a second. But then at the top, what I'm going to do is kind of pleat this around the corner, because these corners are not mitered, they're rounded, and so you kind of have to fold it over on itself a little bit, and then add a little bit more glue, and then fold it over as many times as you kind of need to. And that will just give you a nice tight corner, and it will be nice and rounded. So then I do put a clip right there on the corner because there's so many layers of fabric and glue, just to make sure that everything stays tucked down. You can kind of see I'm just sort of folding it over as I go, adding more glue, and then smoothing everything down, and then I will add a clip to the corner. So I will do that same process to the front cover, and then just making sure that I have those clips right on the corners to hold everything in place. So this is the corners after they all kind of have their clips. And now I'm going to kind of open this back up on itself, kind of pushing the covers back on themselves, and that's going to open up the spine. And then I'm using my very fancy paper clip that's been opened up. I did put a little bit of glue on the fabric, and I'm just tucking that fabric down into the spine. Really easy. I did trim off this side a little bit because I didn't need quite so much fabric in there. Just adding a little bit of glue, tucking it in there. You can see how it opens up that section of the spine and really makes it easy to get that fabric in there. So you might find sometimes there's a little bit of glue in there. If you just run your little paper clip in there, it will open all of that up and you can get that fabric tucked in there really easily. So at this point, I kind of felt like I wanted to add something to the cover, but the other fabrics that were with this were just not exactly what I was wanting on the cover. I really wanted to keep most of this kind of collage element look. So I did pull in some trim from my stash. This is just some Hobby Lobby lace trim that I love. And so I'm just going to add a strip to this, to the front and to the back. A lot of times when I do these pocket Bibles, I'll wrap a second fabric around the spine. But again, I just didn't really want to cover up a lot of these like collage strips. So I'm just going to add a little bit of lace here just to add a little bit more interest, and I'm wrapping it all the way around to the inside. And then here I'm going to add my clips just to hold that down for a little bit until I can get those end papers on there, and then that will help keep everything secure. But I'm going to do this to the front and the back, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting them sort of lined up, you know, in the same place on the front and the back cover, especially since I'm not like wrapping it around. I want to make sure that it looks the same sort of on the front and the back. And then that's kind of where it looks now. I want to add a closure. I thought about adding some seam binding, and then I thought I would just use this other piece of fabric, but it was really wide for what I wanted for the closure. So I'm actually just tearing it down. This is going to give it a really rough and raggedy edge. If that's not your thing, then don't do that. You could certainly just use it like it is. I have done that before, but I really wanted this kind of just raw fabric. So I took that and then I cut it in half, and I'm just going to glue one section here. And again, doing this all before I add those end papers. And then I'm going to have a little clip hold that in place, and then I'll do the same thing on the back. Now you could do anything here for a closure. You could do lace, you could do, you know, really whatever you wanted to. I want a closure on here because I know that by the time I get all my cards filled out and put in here, this little Bible is going to get very chunky, and I have found that having a closure on that is just really helpful. So I'm letting that sit off to the side to dry for a minute, and I'm going to pull in now my end papers. These also come in your kit, and they're cut perfectly to fit, so you don't even have to do any measuring or anything. That's one of the things I love about these little journaling Bible kits, is everything you need is already in there. Everything's done for you, so you just have to fold it in half. I did use a bone folder to get a nice good fold on there. I'm pulling some deli paper in now, or you could use wax paper or whatever, just to protect the pages of the Bible so that I don't get glue all over them. And I like to start on the actual like flyleaf paper first and get that lined up. And so I'm just going to cover this whole section here with glue, and then I'll take that end paper, I'm going to tuck it right down into the gutter, and then I'm going to line this up. So you do have a few seconds here with Cocoino glue, which is really nice to kind of slide it around, get it into place. And then I'm going to come in, add glue to the other side of this end paper, and then I will press that nice and firmly down into the gutter just to make sure there's a good closure on there, your adhesive. And then I'm going to come through and I'm going to put clips everywhere where there's extra bulk. So in the corners where the closure is, and also on those two lace pieces. And then I will let that sit while I work on the back cover. I'm going to do that same exact process, or excuse me, the front cover, same exact process. I'm going to do the same exact thing. And then I will actually let this sit underneath a heavy set of books overnight. I just find that gives me the best result, because it does take a few minutes for the glue to dry completely. But you can kind of see what this is going to look like now. I'm going to tie my little closure here, just so you can see what this is going to look like. And that's it for me. Let me know if you'd like to see how I decorate these pages of this actual Bible. I have a process in mind, or project in mind for it. So let me know if you'd like to see that. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.